So the NFL is
like
kicking
normal.
the tires on hiring replacement officials again. It took me 19 minutes, but I finally remembered what it was I wanted to talk about to completely throw the show off its planned course. The NFL, we reported on Wednesday, because what happened was somebody I know got one of the emails that are being sent out by these small college conference officiating coordinators, because the NFL is looking for 150 willing football game officials from low level college to fill this void in the event that the regular game officials are locked out as a result of the labor dispute that is coming soon.
Something unusual is happening inside the NFL, and it's not being talked about loudly, but the signs are there. The league, which usually operates with control and precision, is suddenly facing uncertainty in one of its most critical areas, officiating. What once felt stable is now quietly becoming a point of tension. For years, referees have been a background presence. Fans complain, players argue, but the system always holds. Now, that assumption is starting to crack. The tone around officiating has shifted, and insiders are beginning to treat it less like routine operations and more like a potential disruption.
So what he does here, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, it's 2 paragraphs, it's at PFT, but they blame the union for dragging their feet, wanting too much, not wanting to improve the game. It's all their fault. They have compelled us to go out and line up these replacement officials so that football continues uninterrupted this season. So basically what they're saying is it's their fault. It's the officials' fault. It's not our fault. They forced us to do this. You made us do it. This is going to hurt us more than it hurts you. And this gets back to something I said yesterday, and I call upon the NFL Referees Association, Scott Green, any of the elected officers, any of the people who are serving in any management capacity in that union, wake up. You got to fight back. You got to play the PR game.
Yeah.
What makes this moment different is timing. This isn't happening mid-season or during a crisis. It's happening in preparation, behind closed doors, before anything has officially gone wrong. That alone suggests the league expects something bigger to unfold, something that could impact games at a fundamental level. The NFL isn't reacting, it's preparing. And when a league this powerful starts preparing quietly, it usually means the situation is more serious than it appears on the surface. The concern isn't just about referees, it's about control, credibility, and what happens when the system everyone trusts starts to weaken. At the center of this issue is a growing divide between the NFL and the Referees Association. Contract negotiations have become tense, with both sides struggling to reach common ground. What used to be routine discussions now feel like a standoff, with neither side willing to fully step back. The referees are pushing for better conditions, more stability, and recognition of their role in a billion-dollar league. On the other side, the NFL is focused on control, flexibility, and long-term cost structures. These priorities are starting to clash in ways that make compromise increasingly difficult. What makes this situation more complicated is the public narrative. The league appears to be shifting blame toward the referees, suggesting that the breakdown is on their side. At the same time, the Referees Association is signaling that the league isn't taking their concerns seriously enough.
It was the Monday night that concluded Week 3. The NFL had used replacement officials through all the preseason and into the regular season. And one of the essays in Playmakers, the book that came out 4 years ago this month, 4 years, 5 years, 4 years, I've lost track, I delved into that entire replacement official experience. There were people in the league office who were amazed it took that long for everything to go off the rails. They were amazed it did not fall apart faster because they knew that the quality of the replacement officials was subpar. And the talking point we got from the commissioner at the time was the replacement officials will be just as good as the officials who've been locked out.
Sure.
And hey, that was not an insignificant outcome. because the Packers finished that
Exactly
season
right.
11-5.
Yeah.
This isn't just a disagreement anymore. It's turning into a power struggle. And when negotiations move from cooperation to positioning, the risk of a complete breakdown increases. That's when leagues start considering alternatives, not because they want to, but because they feel they have to. What makes this situation feel different from past disputes is that the NFL is not waiting for negotiations to collapse. Behind the scenes, the league has already begun identifying potential replacement referees. This is no longer a hypothetical backup idea. It is an active contingency plan being built in real time. The league is reportedly looking at officials from smaller college conferences and lower-tier football programs. These referees are experienced within their own environments, but the jump to the NFL is enormous. The speed of the game, the pressure of national broadcasts, and the scrutiny from millions of viewers create a completely different level of difficulty.
I know of people within the league structure who are trying to get full-time officials, high-level employees with teams. And every once in a while, it'll be explained to me that it's not the money. I'm sure the money's part of it. I've had it also explained that when you're dealing with the internal dynamics of an organization like that, where the ship is moving in one direction, it's always been this way. We've always had part-time officials. To be the person who tries to reverse it, it requires a willingness to expend political capital. You got to be the one who does the Arnold Horseshack in the meeting when they're ready to move on to the next topic. And you've got to say, oh, let's talk about full-time officials. It's not really popular in the room to be the one to bring that up.
That gap matters more than it seems. NFL officiating is not just about knowing the rules. It is about applying them instantly under pressure, managing elite athletes, and maintaining control in high-stakes situations. Even slight hesitation or inconsistency can lead to confusion, missed calls, or controversial decisions that change the flow of a game. What stands out is the timing of this preparation. The NFL is building this system before any official breakdown has occurred. That suggests a lack of confidence in the negotiation process. Instead of relying on resolution, the league is preparing for failure, which signals how serious the internal situation has become. At the same time, this plan introduces a new layer of pressure into negotiations. By preparing replacements, the NFL gains leverage. It sends a clear message that the season can continue without the current officials if necessary. But that leverage comes with risk, because using those replacements could come at a significant cost. Once a replacement system is in place, it changes the entire dynamic. The conversation is no longer about whether a deal will be reached, but what happens if it is not. The presence of a backup plan makes the possibility of disruption feel real, immediate, and increasingly likely.
No, it was significant, and you're right, and that's what I'm scared of. I'm scared of the possibilities of what might happen and what it could be. That was a disaster. That was a joke. That's a black eye, a stain on the league right there, that game and the way that looked, and remembering back to the time, it was not the only bad call. There was a lot of jokes going around. It's just that was the most famous joke there. It was pitiful. So, yeah, I don't want to see that happen again. Certainly not. And then definitely don't want to see that again, because we know how tight the league is, and like you're explaining, I mean, yeah, bad calls, it can affect seeding if you make the playoffs, if you don't make the playoffs. So that's all a part of it. But like to have this coming off the heels of what most people would tell you in the NFL or fans was the worst year of refereeing in the history of the NFL.
At the same time, this plan introduces a new layer of pressure into negotiations. By preparing replacements, the NFL gains leverage. It sends a clear message that the season can continue without the current officials if necessary. But that leverage comes with risk, because using those replacements could come at a significant cost. Once a replacement system is in place, it changes the entire dynamic. The conversation is no longer about whether a deal will be reached, but about what happens if it is not. The presence of a backup plan makes the possibility of disruption feel real, immediate, and increasingly likely. The real concern is not just that replacement referees might be used, but what happens when they actually take control of NFL games. At this level, every decision carries weight. Games are faster, more complex, and far less forgiving than anything most replacement officials have previously handled. Even small mistakes can have massive consequences. A missed pass interference call, a late flag, or a misjudged spot can shift momentum instantly. In close games, those moments do not just affect a single play. They can determine wins, losses, playoff positions, and even entire seasons. Inexperienced officiating also creates inconsistency, which is often more damaging than occasional mistakes. Players and coaches rely on predictable rule enforcement. When that consistency disappears, frustration builds quickly. Games become harder to manage, tensions rise, and the overall quality of play begins to decline.
Somebody I know sent me yesterday, it started with one email that a supervisor of officials from a small college conference is sending around. Another one came in, and once you start, like, they can't really deny it. They're actively trying to line the guys up now. Here's how the timeline's going to go. They want to know who's interested now, so in April they can perform background checks and onboarding of potential replacements. By May, they're going to do an introductory face-to-face gathering. They'll have training in the summertime, and they're going to be in some point in May, they're going to have an in-person thing where they're going to have like 150 guys, and they're going to knock it down to 130 during, as a result of that, like American Idol or something, I guess. But this has the potential to be a disaster.
There is also a broader issue that makes this situation more sensitive than in the past. Sports betting is now deeply connected to the NFL experience. Millions of dollars are placed on outcomes influenced by officiating decisions. That means every controversial call carries not just competitive implications, but financial ones as well. This is where perception becomes critical. Even if mistakes are unintentional, repeated errors can create the impression that the system is unreliable. Once fans start questioning fairness, the league's credibility begins to erode. Trust is one of the NFL's most valuable assets, and it is difficult to rebuild once damaged. That is how chaos develops. It doesn't happen instantly, but through a series of questionable moments that accumulate over time. Each controversial call adds pressure, each inconsistency fuels doubt, and eventually the conversation shifts from isolated mistakes to a deeper concern about the integrity of the game itself. To understand why this situation feels so serious, you have to go back to 2012. That season, the NFL actually used replacement referees during a labor dispute. What followed was one of the most chaotic officiating periods in league history, filled with confusion, inconsistent calls, and growing frustration from players and fans.
Well, Mike, on the money part of it, hey, you got to offer something that is attractive enough to get somebody who is, and I'm not making this up, and I'm not, getting somebody who is a full-time high school principal to give up being a high school principal.
Tony Correnti.
And focus on
not Tony Correnti.
NFL
no, not
official.
Tony Correnti. There was a guy. He was a full-time official in California. Yeah. Or a plumbing supply company owner.
We got lawyers. Are you interested? We got educators, all this stuff. So yeah, you gotta make it attractive. But the other sports, Mike, find a way to do it, and it's a good way to make a living.
The defining moment came in a game between the Green Bay Packers and Seattle Seahawks. On the final play, a controversial touchdown was awarded despite what appeared to be an obvious interception. The play, later known as the Fail Mary, instantly became one of the most infamous moments in NFL history. What made it worse was not just the bad call, but the reaction that followed. Players openly criticized officials, coaches lost trust in the system, and fans questioned whether games were being decided fairly. The league's credibility took a visible hit, and pressure mounted quickly. Within days, the NFL rushed to resolve the dispute and bring back its regular officials. That moment became a turning point, a reminder of how fragile competitive integrity can be.
Now, with similar conditions forming again, many are wondering if the league is about to repeat a mistake it once learned the hard way. Beyond the immediate crisis, this situation is raising a larger question about the future of officiating in the NFL. For years, critics have argued that referees should be full-time employees rather than part-time officials. The idea is simple: more training, more consistency, and a stronger system overall. Supporters believe full-time officials would reduce errors and improve accountability. If referees are fully integrated into the league year-round, they can study game film, refine decision-making, and stay aligned with evolving rules. In theory, this would create a more reliable and professional officiating standard. However, implementing that system is not as straightforward as it sounds. It involves higher costs, structural changes, and agreement from both the league and the Referees Association. That makes it a long-term solution rather than a quick fix for the current situation. What makes this moment important is that it could force the league to finally confront this issue. Instead of treating officiating as a background function, the league may need to rethink how critical it truly is. Because at the end of the day, no matter how advanced the game becomes, it still depends on human decisions to function properly.